how do we communicate? And especially, how do we communicate across different worlds? And this is the extraordinary achievement of Michael in his two memoirs.
Michael's story centred on his experience of deafness, and to me that subject was fascinating and utterly new. Not only did Michael's story, what he had written, do what good fiction and biography and memoir can do, which is to open a window onto somebody's inner life. For me, it was genuinely educative. Like most people not personally touched with deafness, I knew very little about it. I had no concept of deaf culture. So for me, it was a window not only into an individual's life and experience, but into the experience of a wider community. And for that, I was very grateful.
These memoirs was precisely that, it was memories. I think that we retain memories for a particular reason. And if you can find out why, if you can dig down into those reasons of why you remembered something, such as that wretched little girl named Cecilia that Arnold pointed out, if you can remember those instances, then I think you're approaching a profound kind of truth. And when I set out these memories, I could see a pattern emerging, and that pattern was of a groping towards some kind of truth about deafness that would satisfy me and one that would sustain me in a world that often made no sense.
The conversations, like the whole book, are about two things. On the one hand, they're about the conversations all 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds, or many 21-year-old men have, about how do you meet a woman, how do you communicate, how do you score, or whatever. And on the other hand, it's about deafness. And this is the important thing that Michael is saying to us. Yes, we are all, on one level, the same, but no, we're also different. We're also different. And this is the heartbreaking, but in the end, liberating thread of the book, that we're all different. And this is important as being the same. And the two go together, and if it's only one, then it can be a tragedy. And if it's only the other, it can be a tragedy. There's a very interesting metaphor, a sustained metaphor, that goes from the beginning of book 1 right through to the end of book 2. And that's the metaphor of the dragonfly. Right? Michael had a book about insects when he was a kid, and on the cover there was a dragonfly, and he was obsessed by dragonflies. And then towards the end he reveals why. You know, he's saying in a conversation, so they hunt on the wing. I don't know, mosquitoes, bees, flies, gnats, that sort of thing. Their legs have bristles that form a sort of net. And that's how I see it. Dragonflies hunt morsels of food. That's what we do. Only we hunt morsels of words. Every time people speak, every time anyone opens their mouth to speak, we hover, swoop, glide, dive, hunting those tiny morsels of words. It's hard work, and it never stops.
To the Japanese, it represents power, agility, and victory. To the Chinese, it represents prosperity, harmony, and good luck, which is very nice, I thought. But to the Native Americans, it symbolises something a little bit different, and I think this is the symbol and the metaphor that I like very much, and I think says what it needs to say about Michael's work. They believe that because the dragonfly can fly in all directions, and that means up and down and backwards and all around, looking at the world through its amazing eyes, it represents a being who sees the world through many perspectives. And seeing the world like that is emotional maturity. And I think that is a very lovely and very appropriate metaphor for Michael's books. So that is the story of my involvement over 20 years ago with that very beginning part of Michael's writing career. His passion to communicate has not abated, and we're here today to see the results. And I'm happy and honoured that Michael has asked me to help celebrate. Thank you.
Deafness, I think, is like a multifaceted diamond. We hone in on some parts, but someone is always going to point out something else. And that's part of a lifelong exploration of what it means to be deaf.
And, and through this, we begin to understand. That's the gift. The gift is you've gone through this journey and you've given us the gift of these 2 books. And right at the end of the second book, the ending is astonishing. It's extraordinary ending.
I think you said that you didn't want to be an inspiration, but whether you want to or not, I think you are. But you're not an inspiration for being a deaf person. I think you're an inspiration for being a stubborn contrarian. I think that in the face of that continual can't that you get from society, that deaf people do get from society, and particularly in the face of all those troubles with the publishers, to persist and to create works of this quality, I think, they should be ashamed of themselves, and to suggest that there's not a market for them with, 1 in 6 Australians having a hearing loss set to increase to 1 in 4. Michael, you have to tell those stories and you have to keep telling them. We need to see the next version, don't we?